Thank you. Welcome. Start the special meeting, joint meeting of the Citywide Issues Committee of the Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council. I'll take roll call right now. Ralph Croy.
Here.
Brian Allen.
Here.
And Sydney Gold is here. So we have a full membership. Before he came in, I said that Scott had resigned from the committee because he has too many commitments at this point. I hope to invite him back when he has less of them. But anyway. So
How old are his children?
I think 7 and 6. The older one just started playing basketball. Okay. So we have any comments from non-board members or non-committee members? Karen, Raheem, Nathan, any comments about citywide issues that you would like to?
Well, I think something I mentioned, I might have mentioned this after riding on the subway to the Staples, well, I'm sorry, the other, Crypto. The trains, the condition, if they want to increase ridership, they really need to do something about that. It's better. We went to the Kings game on Sunday and it had improved, but still needs to be, 100% about face, so.
The subway is a county metro issue, but we can look at it.
The red line.
Yeah. And Nathan, did you have something to say?
No, none for me. Thanks, Sid.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right.
And nothing for me either.
Okay. All right. So let me move to the items on the agenda here. I'm going to share my screen. So we're going to look at the workplace equity policy. Everybody should have gotten a draft of that, and there it is there. I hope everybody can see it. It's a lengthy document. I think it's 13 pages. And what I want is are there issues that people want to pull from the policy to discuss? And if there are, give me the number and we'll discuss them. And since we have board members here, I'm inviting them to participate. They're not voting, but I'm inviting them to participate in the discussion. So.
Well, Sid, I have a question, if I may. I didn't raise my hand, I'm sorry, but just would you mind pointing out to us what you, I've been on these meetings like you have throughout the city. What specific areas of concern are there in this policy that are causing the questions and disputes? Well,
the whole policy, is basically the backbone of the code of conduct policy being put forward by Department of Neighborhood Empowerment and Bonk. And right. And if you look at all the issues, I've been at meetings where people question, what are we employees? If we read employee for the purpose of the policy, employee includes any individuals occupying positions in the classified civil service, paid interns, contract employees, and employees exempted from civil service under the provisions of the city charter. Okay. Including but not limited to elected and paid appointed officials. Okay. So it's hard to, a lot of people don't understand exactly who are we employees under this definition. That's okay.
The Paris Dream.
Well, under unpaid interns, fellows, and volunteers, and it says neighborhood council board members and unpaid commissioners, as well. So it says are protected from harassment, sexual harassment, hazing, bullying, and inequitable conduct as defined in this policy. So we are classified as the other individuals covered by this policy. You know, full disclosure, I think Brian and I don't know about everyone else, and you said we've been through this, read through this policy before. So that's we are other as neighborhood council board members.
You know, and the list of, we go to protected categories. So, and there's quite a list of protected categories. I am a protected category, but 40 or over is a protected category. All these, I just find it the whole thing very complicated. I may be in a minority, but I find it complicated to all these definitions of harassment.
On some of these things, do you have to announce what you are? Like, I mean, if you're a veteran, the average person doesn't know you are, you know, this type of thing. How do you announce yourself, or are you supposed to announce yourself to other people that what you are? I mean,
Well, some of us don't really have to announce it, but it really shouldn't have to be that. It's really just peel back the layers and it's very simple. Treat everyone the same. It doesn't matter who they are, what they do. They're breathing human beings, treat them all the same, period.
or I understand that, but not all the people do that.
Okay.
Well, but
One
and
at a
that's
time,
true.
please. Okay, we'll raise your hands or
Sorry.
wait till the other person is done. Okay, right. Don't want to get into a dialogue, but
Sorry.
make your points and I'll let the next person speak. Okay. One of the, I'll tell you what concerns me is a point 5.1, right to report anonymously. Any city employee may report potential policy violations anonymously unless the employee is a supervisor reporting an incident as part of their supervisory role. A reporting party is anonymously will be protected, but to the greatest extent possible. In some cases, investigation of anonymous reports may result in the investigative staff or other verbal parties becoming aware of this identity of the negotiating party. So and if we go to, when we go to the code of conduct, then there's a whole thing about anonymous reporting. Then that could lead to an allegation and to further action. So this whole, and people who are being accused of some impropriety really are not given the full information as I see it under this right to report anonymously. See, I don't know how this works, how you would report something anonymously. How could they get back to you to say they're working on it, not working on it? They want, you know, so are they saying that people in the city are aware who's making the report? Is that what, I don't know what that means exactly.
Brian, you have, Sid, I see Brian has his hand up.
Oh, I see, Brian. Excuse me.
Yeah. Look, I see. Well, first of all, I'd like to ask you to send this out to me again. I can't find it. If I got it, I can't remember where I got it. But there are way too many considerations in this for me to accept it. You're right about 5.1, and hell, Karen, you're right too. You know, we should have we're being treated like babies. As a matter of fact, all the people in government are being treated like babies, and they're trying to concoct a situation where everybody is protected from everything, and by doing that, they are eliminating any individuality or independent thought, and ability to communicate. This goes right along with all the other policies that the city has, where we don't discuss, we simply make comments. We can't complain, we can't converse. I'm really quite fed up with government in its entirety, in terms of how it tries to make individuals a carbon copy of somebody's idea, and eliminate all individual personalities, except for those that are minor, that we are supposed to accept just because we're told to accept them. And it's just not right. Human rights are to allow humans to be human, not to force them into being something that is somebody else's idea of what's good or bad. And let me just pick on one little tiny thing. We have, when I was young, I was informed that there was a word for the Q in LGBTQ, and that we were not supposed to use that. That was derogatory. That was not nice to call somebody that. And now we're being told that there is such a situation. I don't even know what it means anymore. And yet it's being used. And this is happening all over the place. The blacks use their rap, and they use the N-word. And if we were to use it, it would be horrendously bad, because we'd be considered using it improperly.
Okay,
And
so
and
Brian,
all of this.
Brian, I have to interrupt. We're sticking to a minute and a half, and
Yeah, okay, well, in that case, I have another meeting I have to go to, so I'll try and stick around a little longer. But regardless of what is said here tonight, my vote will be no.
okay. So Karen, you have a minute and a half.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I'll take that long. I just propose under 5.1, a 5.1A, something to the effect of pertaining to neighborhood council board members, committee members, or other volunteers to first report to the, starting with the president or executive committee, whichever way you want to say that, and then try to resolve at that level, and if unsuccessful, then move it on to the next level, which would be the person, whether it's personnel or likely it's the personnel department. But that's my suggestion, just the 5.1A pertaining to neighborhood councils, and to start at the NC level and see if it can be resolved there. And then if not, report it on, but start there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Oscar, you have your hand up. Go ahead. You have a minute.
Yeah,
and a-
thank you. So listen, while some of these things may seem like it's stuff that, an organization or an entity is pushing down or forcing down on individuals, things of this nature came up for a reason. And they came up because, Brian, I understand we are human, we are individuals, but everybody, or some, decide to behave in a way that is not conducive to appropriate behavior, or considered appropriate behavior. So unfortunately, these things are put into place for that very reason, to give people a guide for treating others with some level of respect. Karen, what you said right now, as far as adding 5.1A and making the NCs kind of, responsible, or the first point of contact in terms of addressing that, sounds like a good idea. However, I am concerned also because then it would require some level of training. These kind of things, when you look at it on a private company level, they have HR departments. They have departments that are prepared and do this kind of stuff, right? And are equipped with the right tools to do so. To push this down to the NC level, concerns, and that means we have some level of training as well, should the situation arise. So.
That's your time. All right.
I'd like to make a comment.
Did you raise your hand? No.
Well, I don't know how you do that. Mine doesn't have a
Okay.
hand raising section here.
Okay.
At the bottom of the screen, Ralph, I believe you should be able to see raise hand.
It says reactions. You should be able to press on that, and it has a raise hand in there. Okay. I'll assume you've raised your hand, but try to find it at the bottom. Okay, Ralph. You have a minute and a half.
Well, I assume that these are all administrative items because in a court of law, you're required to know your accuser. So there are two different ways of looking at this. This is administrative, I assume. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening. Okay.
Eventually, if it really gets serious, then you get to know your accuser by the law.
So do you want to amplify? I'm not sure what you're saying, Ralph.
Well, it's the right to report. You can report anonymously, but if it goes much further, and it becomes serious, then you have to be known. So I don't know how you want to talk about that in 5.1.
Okay. Let you go. Okay. Yes, okay, Karen, you can go. You have your minute and a half.
Okay, thank you. I actually agree with Oscar and would like to just expand a little bit on what I said or correct what I said to the matter, because it could be a dangerous matter. And just to keep the training off of us, the neighborhood arts and parks committee, which Councilmember Lee is the chair, just have the matter referred to them, since they are the overseers of the neighborhood councils, so that we don't have to go through the training or any possible safety concerns. This will last long after we are off of the neighborhood councils. So, we are, whatever we do now is going to, transcend many years. And I'd also like to refer to Nathan Lee, who is an attorney, for any advice and recommendations he may have that could be helpful to this discussion.
Nathan, unmute yourself if you want to comment.
I appreciate the opportunity, Karen, and everybody. I'm just kind of here, just listening and following along. So no comment from me at this time. But thank you.
Okay. Okay. So going back to the work policy, any other areas that we want to look at? I think tend to be in agreement with Brian that there's a lot here, and I think it's overly detailed and overdone. But these are identified by law areas of subject to discrimination, and so that's something we have to consider. Okay, Brian, you've raised your hand.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something. I understand what you were saying, Oscar, and I agree that we need to conduct ourselves in a civil manner, and I agree that we have to be careful of other people's feelings when we cause them to feel bad. I am totally in agreement with that. I think we are human beings and have the right and the ability to choose how we do things. And if we're going to do something bad, we will be alienated from that organization in one way or another. We should be mindful of that. But the one thing that can never be done, has never been successful at being done, and is constantly being tried, is to change somebody's personal feelings. You cannot do it. You will never do it. No one has ever been successful at that. That has to be a learned process of education, of understanding as people are educated, of who people are, why they think the way they do, etc. But you will never be able to change somebody's feelings. And we have to be mindful of the fact that everybody has a right to feel the way they feel. They just don't have a right to act to hurt other people with their because of their feelings. And this doesn't do that. This takes it
You
way too far.
ready to wrap up, Brian?
I'm done.
Okay. Seeing no more hands raised, no further discussion. I think, does the committee have any recommendation about what to do with this policy? Someone want to make a motion about it, amending it, disregarding it, accepting it?
Well, Sid, if I was to make a motion, it would be a motion to take this item and go over it word by word, sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph, and rewrite it to me to be acceptable to everybody in terms of being honest and fair. This is not, this is neither honest nor fair. It is, it has good purpose, but it doesn't. So I would say to make the motion to take it and literally tear it apart and rewrite it if we feel, if anybody feels that they have a comment on any line, and then bring it back and see if we could make something of it. But it doesn't matter if we do that or not, because we will not have enough power to make a difference here.
So your motion is to
Is to-
send it back to whom to rewrite this?
all of us look at it in
Well,
detail.
that was the point. That
and
was
make
the point of
suggestions.
this. That was the point of this meeting.
Yes, but
was-
we're not looking at it in detail, and we're not discussing it. We are commenting on it.
So are
and
you saying
I
we should
find
have
that-
another, let me interrupt. Are you saying, I'm trying to understand your motion. Are you saying we should have another meeting? How are we, this was the recommendation of how to accomplish what you're saying.
Well, let me withdraw my motion because I don't feel it would be successful in any way, shape, or form, even if we tried it. I'm very disturbed at the city and all of us for allowing a failure to discuss rather than just comments. We should be able to discuss.
Okay. Ralph, do you have any comments to make regarding the policy?
I feel the same way. This needs a lot more study, etc. And the way it is right now is sort of a, I don't know, just a fast cover up on comments, etc. And there's no detail in it.
See, the problem is I see it, the purpose of this committee was to, meeting was to get this input to begin the rewriting or come up with recommendations. And we're not doing that by these motions. I think what's open to us at this meeting is to accept the policy or not accept the policy. That we're not going to be in the process of rewriting it again. That's, I think someone has to make a motion to, or just let it die. That's the only possibilities as I see it.
What is,
Well, my feeling would be we need to have a lawyer on the committee.
No, Ralph, I'm asking what are your recommendations regarding this document?
It
Are
needs
you ready to take any action on it or no action? That's what the purpose of this meeting was, okay? Was that we set aside where board members could participate, look at the document and say they like this, they don't like that, and whatever. And we're not at that point. And so I
My
think,
feeling is we're not ready to go with this.
so what is your motion? Do you have a recommendation? So that's,
I'll make a motion to oppose this and reject it.
okay. And Ralph, do you want to second that or not?
I will second that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We do have room for public comment now, okay, on that motion. Anyone want to make a comment on that? Seeing so no one, so put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. No nays and no abstentions. Okay. So what we'll be submitting to the board is that Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council should reject this workplace policy. That will be the recommendation, and then the board will make a decision whether to accept it or not. Okay. So let me go to the next item of business, which is a code of conduct policy, and let me put that up on the screen. Second. Do that.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, I just have to get to that area. Give me a minute. Just a second. Just a second here. Give me 1 minute here. I'm having a little trouble with the screen right now. Give me 1 second. Okay. Put that in here. Okay. Okay, let me get back here. Sorry, I'm taking a long here. Give me a break. Getting it to the screen here. Give me a minute. I'm sorry. I just want to share my screen. Okay, now we're in business. Sorry about that. Just a sec. Almost there. I'm sorry. Don't know what's going on. I can't get back into the meeting. So you hear me, I take it, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So where?
Ted, while you're doing that, I do have to leave pretty soon.
Okay,
I should have already gone, but I would like to ask you to have another meeting, and even if it's a special meeting, to put just this item that we just looked at on the agenda and actually have a full-blown discussion and effort to go over every line and make changes as we see fit, because I think it is a good document to look forward to as a guide but it needs to be appropriate.
I would second that.
So you want to withdraw the previous motion?
No, I don't want to change anything. I'm just saying I'd like to suggest that you put it on another meeting and just to address this item in detail.
And get back into the full screen here.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get into the share my screen mode, and I can't get into the full screen. So let's see.
Sid, let me see
On your
if I
view
can help.
options, go to fit to window at the top.
See that. I lost the whole things that were so I could share my
Sid.
screen. Yeah.
Which document is that the one that we had last meeting? Let me see here.
It's the code of conduct.
Code of conduct amendment.
Yeah, could you put that?
Let me see if let me reclaim host
No.
and see if I can.
Sid, you're currently on your camera. You need to close that.
Okay, hold on here.
My camera's closed, so I don't know.
No, not your camera, but you're on your camera app.
Yeah, it says front facing camera.
Okay,
It says camera.
Okay, let me see what's doing here.
There you go.
Okay,
Well, that's
Sid,
Oscar.
do you see the doc? Is this a document
Yeah,
that you're
yep,
referring
that's it.
to? Okay, so I have this saved from last time.
That's
Okay.
great. Could you please blow it up just a bit so we can read it?
I was going to say the same thing.
Oh, really? It's
It's
a
so
little
small.
is it really? It's not on mine.
Even with glasses, I can't see it.
It's showing full screen on mine. Let me see. No, let me see if I can
Yeah, I can do it
Increase
now.
this.
So if you let me, I can share the screen. So.
Oh,
Well, we can each do that by just taking your fingers and spreading the picture in it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I'm trying to see how now I'm having that problem. How the heck can I get this to increase? Oh lordy, add text. Page view, no, that's single page.
how about control plus plus?
Let's try that. Oh man.
The
There you go.
old school,
There you go.
old school
Raheem,
approach always works.
You,
All right, Raheem,
thank you,
Thanks.
Raheem.
keep it old school.
Okay, is that bigger?
Okay,
Is
very
that
good. So
That's
you
good.
can
Just move it up.
control the. So what I wanted to do with this document is is to go to the recommendations made in the form of a proposal to City Council. And if you go to that,
You tell me.
Keep scrolling down.
Okay.
Keep going. Okay, right here. Okay.
Right here?
Yeah. Go up a bit.
Okay. So you want me to start with 4? Where?
No, I go to the bottom, go farther down, go a little
Okay.
farther down.
Well, that's
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, okay, that's the part that I want to look at, are the recommendations. So go up again to the top part there.
okay. The recommendations are all these
Yeah, the numbers here. Yeah,
requested
that's it.
action, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Okay, so, and I wanted to go through these one by one. So that. And I was expecting members of the audience and committee to have reviewed and picked out the things that they really wanted to discuss. Okay. The part of the document that concerns me is towards the bottom is that the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment can suspend members based on an accusation. And I'm not sure what number that is.
Where was that? You're right. Resources.
It's
Oh,
item
here, right,
D,
5. It's item
like
D
David.
right there. Yeah. Provide resources to assist neighborhood councils in their efforts to manage board dynamic challenges to avoid the necessity to suspend or remove board. Is that the one there?
No, there's a little, go down a little bit more. I think you have more room, don't you?
I think if we go down, it's going to go to the signature page, and I don't.
Yeah,
really
but
see
go
it.
below
Oh,
that.
here. Oh, good, good. You're right. You're right. Okay, I'm sorry. Here.
That's what I wanted. Is this is the recommendation. So if you go down farther, the resolutions are there. These are the whereases. I don't think we have to discuss those. Okay, so these are the resolutions. Okay. So the first one is to accept that policy, but if you scroll down more.
Tell me when to stop.
Keep going. Okay, I think right there. Go back up to number 4.
Okay. Member has refused.
In certain where neighborhood council board members or community member fails to refuse to comply with item number 1, the department shall proceed to suspend the board member or committee member from the neighborhood council. Said board member or committee member shall not be eligible to act on any matter that comes before their neighborhood council. Okay, that's one of them. This is basically that if you don't follow policy, that they can suspend you from acting on the board. And
That's auto credit.
any thoughts about that? That's the one I wanted to discuss. Any comments from anyone?
I believe the issue, Sid, has
Sorry.
been where is the authority to suspend and how is it implemented? They're giving the authority to suspend to the department, but how is it adjudicated? That's the big question.
Well, this is one. There's another way of a suspension that I want to get to. This is the first area. Has to do with non-complying to the code of conduct. To the Workplace Policy Equity Act. That you can be suspended if you don't bring yourself into the code of conduct appropriately.
I understand that, but the issue for me is, even though I don't agree with that at the moment, the issue is that there has to be some method of adjudication which can be argued and understood and be sufficient so that it doesn't feel like some individual has ultimate authority. This is not a dictatorship. It needs to be a democratic policy of some kind.
Okay. Karen, you have your hand up. Unmute yourself.
Yes. Well, regarding this, the adjudication, as Brian says, the normal process, as I understand it, as it was explained to me in my training when I first came to the neighborhood councils, is it starts with filing a complaint with the NEA, and then depending on the severity of what is going on, if it's a severe situation, danger of some kind involved, some sort of harm, then it's going to be elevated up to the personnel department and the labor relations department. And now we have this parks department. So somewhere in between there is where the actual action is going to come to make the formal decision. But something does have to be done to a point that was made in the discussion on our board meeting, is there does have to be order. People can't just do what they want. So there does have to be some sort of order, and depending on what the allegation is, if there's harm, if someone feels in danger, they do have a right to elevate it to the appropriate department, which is, if it's personnel or the labor relations department, to have the matter addressed at that level. But something has to be done. People can't just do what they want. And that conversation keeps coming up, that we want rights and we want a right to do whatever we want. And somewhat, Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council is great, but we've got 99 neighborhood councils out there. I'm sorry, 98 other neighborhood councils, and there's a lot of issues. So this is going across the whole neighborhood council system, not just our individual neighborhood council. So that's where our minds have to think
Can you
about
wrap
that.
up?
Okay, I'm done.
No,
Thanks.
but I just want to get you're speaking in favor of this or against it? I'm just not quite sure.
Well, I worked on the committee to help, put this
So
together.
you're speaking in favor?
I am.
Okay. Okay, Ralph, your turn.
Yes, somewhere along the line, there should be a formal hearing so that the person can explain or defend the position if they chose. So there is not an arbitrary thing of saying, okay, we don't like what you're doing, we're suspending you. There should be a formal hearing. I've been on a formal hearing when somebody in the Granada Hills South did something wrong, and they looked for volunteers, and I was volunteered. And they do, it should be in there that one gets a hearing, a formal hearing.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. So I said it before, and I'll say it again, I am against this concept. I think there are methods in our bylaws to suspend members, and the board can act appropriately. And the belief is that we need a higher power to help us act appropriately. I guess some people can accept that. I feel that just taking away authority from us to another organization that we have to rely on, that they're going to be judicious and fair, and that's something we have to look at. Are we, as a neighborhood council, willing to give up the power that we've adopted in our board and our bylaws? That's my feeling.
Sid, will you recognize me?
Hello? I raised my hand.
Sid, somehow you got muted. Maybe I accidentally muted you. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
There you
Okay,
go.
Brian and then Oscar. Go ahead.
Okay.
You have a minute and a half. Okay.
All right. The policy isn't bad, except that I want to see how it is overseen. I don't want a rogue NC to be able to railroad somebody because they have a clique and they don't like them. And I want that to be able to be reviewed by somebody to determine whether they have acted appropriately. And I also don't want the department to have the ability to decide for an NC, because the NC has responsibilities and rights of their own. So I'm not comfortable with the way this is set up for review and oversight. So until we can get to that, I don't see how this is acceptable.
Okay, is that it? So you're speaking against it. Is that correct?
Unless we
Brian?
make a change. Unless we make a change.
Okay. Now, Oscar, you have a minute and a half.
Okay, so share. Brian, Stern is a valid. Who is going to oversee this when there is misconduct, right? Who's going to have the authority to impose or to put these things into place? I would expect, and maybe this is where we need clarification, I would expect that, there is a protocol, there is a formal process that's already set up within the city, um, so that there is a review in situations like this where someone is acting out of line to the point where it's egregious. And that's where, looking at the other document, where when they're talking about anonymous, that's where they're talking about, taking that situation and doing a formal review. That's what I would think. Now, I agree with you. Maybe that's what we need to have clarified before we can take a position on this.
Let me respond to that quickly. I think that what's missing is an appeal process so that a single decision is not absolute. I think there has to be an appeal process of some kind. Otherwise, there's no way of ensuring that a proper decision is always made.
Excuse me, I raised my hand again. The thing that I would require is that there must be a review system. I said there should be. There must be a review system before they can do anything like that. And we have it in our bylaws, I believe, but in other organizations too. But it should be in the overall system here that before somebody is removed, they have a formal review. It must be in there. Or a formal appeal, or what, however you want to say it.
So, okay, Ralph, you're done. Oscar?
Yeah.
Oscar? Is your
No,
hand up?
yeah, I agree with Brian. So maybe that's one of the things that we can suggest or recommend that they add to this document. And is there an appeal process? And if there isn't, that there should be one.
That's what I said.
So
Okay, so what, Ralph or Brian, do you want to make a motion to that we want to amend item number 4, that appeals process should be developed before any suspension or is implemented?
I will make a
Let-
request that there shall be a formal review and appeal before anybody is removed. That may not be the right way to say it, but that's what I want.
And is there a second to that? Brian, you got your
Yeah,
hand up? You want a second?
No, I'm not looking to second at the moment. I am trying to address the idea of a motion that that allows for, or that implements a appeal process somewhere in this document, and I don't know where it should be. I think it should be at the conclusion of a decision. There should be an appeal process available. I'm not suggesting that every decision must be reviewed. I'm suggesting that every decision may have an appeal filed. That's all. That's my motion, is to add a process of appeal in this document. That's the motion. I
I
don't
would
know where it
agree
would
with
go
that.
at the moment, but I do think that that's necessary.
Okay, Ralph, you gonna second that?
I would second that.
Okay, now Karen, you have your hand up?
Yes, I'd just like to suggest, as we've all been discussing, there does have to be protocols established, which that is not in here, specific protocols from the personnel department. That's who should, they are the personnel department for the city of Los Angeles. Let's have that outlined, and there should be an appeals process in there. So just protocols, that's the simplest language in my recommendation.
So, thank you, Karen. Any other comments on this motion regarding having an appeals process be made available? Brian, you still got your hand up? Or
Yes, I have it up again.
Okay.
I think there's a problem, and I recognize the responsibility of the personnel department. I recognize that it has authorities that other departments do not have with regards to employees. Those powers are handed down to neighborhood councils in neighborhood council actions by their board. I don't know that they are ultimately the first line of defense. I think that an appeal process should delineate just what the appeal can do. Can the appeal go to the department? Can the appeal go to the personnel department? Can the appeal go to the city council? I think it has to be delineated as to what an appeal process is. And I think that's what Karen's getting at, but I'm not sure. But I would not want to see that the personnel department has ultimate authority over neighborhood council actions on personnel, simply because it hasn't been determined that neighborhood councils are employees.
Ryan, can you wrap it up?
Okay.
Okay. So the choice here is to say we want an appeals process and leave it open, or do we want to delineate the steps needed? That's what I hear. Right now, the motion is open-ended. An appeals process should be established without us defining what that process should look like. There's some people, Karen's belief was that we should be more defined in our appeals process. Okay. So there was a negative comment that I think we've heard on both sides on this matter. All those in favor of having an appeals process developed for suspensions?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that I agree. So that passes, and we'll send that to the board, and we'll have further discussion. So, Oscar, if you can scroll down some more.
Yep, here, hold on a sec. Okay, where to?
Keep going.
Tell me when to
Here,
stop.
this one, number 6.
Okay.
If a board member or committee member is alleged to have violated either the city's workplace equity policy or the commission's code of conduct, the department, with written approval from the general manager, may immediately suspend the board member or committee member for a period of up to 90 days. Said board member or committee member shall not be eligible to act on any matter that comes before the neighborhood council, board, or committee, and shall not be counted for the purpose of establishing a quorum of the neighborhood council, board, or committee. Okay, so that's item number 6. Basically, just on an allegation, the general manager can send someone up for
No,
90.
I have my hand up.
Just a second, hand. Brian, and then Ralph. Do I see any other hands?
Okay, I think I'm going to be saying the same thing as Ralph on this one. An alleged environment is absolutely improper. If someone is going to be accused of something, they should be accused by somebody and be able to confront their accuser in an effort to adjudicate this. You can't just have an allegation against somebody that is anonymous. Any anonymous situation is, in my opinion, absolutely improper, and it's insulting besides. If we can't have enough decency to recognize that I have a problem with something and be recognized for that action, then I think that's, we're going way out of line here. So the alleged has to change. I don't know what the motion is yet, but the alleged has to change.
Okay, Ralph, you're next.
I agree. I mean, look, you can
You have,
allege,
so you're speaking against this recommendation?
oh yes, it needs to be defined much better, and you need to have a review process so that you can defend yourself. And it's a matter of law that you have the right to defend yourself.
So you want this deleted or amended, or how do you
It
want
would
to?
be, I would say, amended by having a review process, uh, a formal review process if necessary.
So I'm not sure what you're saying. Someone, one of our stakeholders says Sid Gold made harassing comments. And this is an anonymous allegation. And somehow the general manager can say that it sounds so serious, I'm going to drop Sid Gold from the board for 90 days until we investigate this.
He wouldn't have a right to do that, as far as I'm concerned, until there was a review process where the person knows what the charge is against him and can defend himself. You have the right to defend yourself.
You can take down your hand, Ralph, or Oscar, can you help? I'm raising my hand. Oh, Brian, you can go first.
Oh, okay, let me take a quick stab at this. In this particular 6, if one or more board members, I should say, if one or more identified board members or committee members makes allegation against another individual, and that is adjudicated by the neighborhood council, then it can be taken to the department. If an acceptance of the accusation is accepted by the board, I should say, then it can be taken to the department to take action. Can be forwarded to the department.
So you want to, let me try to help you here. If a board member or committee member has been identified as violating by the board.
Oh, sorry, hold on.
Okay. So you're muted. Okay. So I'm going to try to help Brian when he's on the phone. If a board member or committee member is found by a board of directors to have violated either the city's workplace, so rather than alleged, but actually evaluated by a board to have violated, we would substitute an alleged to the 90-day suspension. Karen, you're next.
Yes, well, the problem that we have with this, that I have with this, Sid, is that, as has been communicated to me through various neighborhood councils on this matter, is, okay, I agree, if it's a hearsay matter, there needs to be, you should be able to confront your accuser, but in a safe setting, and not by the neighborhood council, because we don't have the authority to do that. The problem with it is the nepotism. There are issues, as we know from some one or two boards that have been suspended or done as running their neighborhood councils. We have to be careful with this. If bodily injury is involved, then the person needs to be suspended, because if bodily injury these days, especially in this very hostile environment we live in, could result in bodily injury or death. So we have to take these seriously. So we can't just say, oh, well, we don't want this, but if it's hearsay, yes, someone needs to say, okay, there was some inappropriate slanderous, defamatory comment made. But
So are you saying, let me interrupt, are you saying you
Sure.
want to, you're in favor of the verbiage here?
well, we have to be careful to not have allegations that are just an allegation because someone attended a board meeting and they said, to your point, that you said something that was harassing. Our meetings are recorded, so that would seem to be an easily rectified. But if someone causes harm to someone, I mean, bodily injury could also be emotional harm as well. That has to be taken seriously because the city is liable.
No,
If someone dies, so that's,
So I'm not sure what you're saying. Okay, you want to keep it, you want to change it? I'm not sure what you're recommending.
well, defining the offenses, it definitely would depend on the offense that's involved.
Okay.
If someone's in danger.
So you think there has to be more clarity about what sort of allegation is made?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Now Brian and then Ralph.
Okay, I agree with the severity situation, and yet this particular section here simply allows for, and with the amendment I'd like to make, allows for the board to take an action. Now, the Brown Act allows for the board to take action in private, I might add. But the issue is that the board should take action on any legitimate accusal of a board member. They should take an action and decide to accept or reject. If it is accepted, then it can be sent on to the board. If it is rejected, but there is a minority opinion that signals a possibility of something more egregious, then it should be able to be reviewed by a higher level. And I agree with that. So that should be written into it as well.
Okay, Ralph.
Well, I believe that there should be a formal review, and that does not mean open to the public totally. It would be a review by selected people, perhaps, to make it more almost like a court system, so that the person knows that they're going to get a fair treatment, because you don't want to have a public rah-rah meeting to resolve stuff like
Okay.
this.
So I want to just look at this paragraph right now. That what I heard from Brian and also from Karen is that the amendment should center on that there's some sort of prior action by the board, and that there's the delineation of what the allegation is or the charges are, and that if there's even if the board does not find the minority, it can use a process similar to this to go to the department when there's a disagreement about a board action. Is that close to what's going on here, or is it far off the mark, or whatever?
I have a question when you say a board action. I mean, board actions are common where you have a, public and everything else in there. And some of these things should be done in private with a selected committee to do that.
Now, Karen's the bylaws person. I don't have a copy of the bylaws in front of me, but I think we have a whole method spelled out about how we can suspend members of the board. I may be wrong. I don't have the bylaws in front of me.
Yeah, I wasn't reading the bylaws today, I'm afraid, but there is a process, and we can definitely review that at another time. I'm just really had a long day, and
No, I don't need an excuse. We all have long days.
I'm not giving you an excuse. I'm just telling you, I wasn't reading the bylaws today.
I don't need it. I understand.
Okay.
We all work hard, and we don't always have time for all the important things in our life. Anyway, I appreciate any people showing up to the meeting and talking. That makes me happy. What can I say? That's That's where I get enjoyment from meeting, is hearing people's points of view, maybe learning something new and changing my mind and whatever, if I hear a good argument. Okay, so let's go back to this clause here. Do I have it close at hand that we want the board to act according to the bylaws and that the allegations have to be a sufficient nature that the board will act on that? And that if members of the board or the complainant is not satisfied, a minority report could go to the Department of Neighbor Empowerment for them to reevaluate the situation. Is that close? Not far away?
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So can I get a motion to that effect from someone?
You just said it.
Okay, maybe I'm moving. Can I get a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, so that's all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that passes. Okay, Oscar, if you can scroll down some more, please. Good. Number B here. The department shall be the sole decision maker with respect to a suspension. The board member or committee member may not appeal the suspension decision. Okay,
What?
I'm just reading the document.
I would reject that.
Any hands raised? I don't see any hands.
Okay.
Any thoughts? There's a hand. Ralph, what would you like to say?
Yes, I would reject the statement may not appeal the suspension decision.
So how would you like to reread it or just discard it? What's your thought here?
Well, I don't believe that the department shall be, that the person may not have had a fair trial, to be blunt.
Okay. Karen, you have your hand up?
Yes, I definitely disagree with this, as the department is the sole decision maker. My proposed addition to that language would be final decision reviewed by the Arts, Parks and Neighborhoods Committee of the LA City Council.
Sounds good to me.
So the department shall be not the sole, but a decision maker with respect to a suspension of the board member or committee member. The final decision will be left to the arts, whatever the name of that committee is.
Right, Arts, Parks and Neighborhoods
Okay.
and whatever they're called,
Okay.
right,
Okay.
of the City Council.
Okay. So the final decision regarding the department recommendation
Yes,
will be in the Committee of the Arts and Parks Division.
yes.
Okay. All right. Any thoughts about that? That's, I'm making that as a motion. If we get a second to that.
Second.
Okay, so further discussion. Raheem, you've got no comments? Any thoughts? You're here. Nathan, our attorney, no thoughts?
No.
No, okay, all right. So all in favor of the removing the sole decision-making from the department, and the decision made by the department will be evaluated and approved by the Arts and Parks Committee.
A higher committee, yes.
Yes. Well, that's the committee. They're overseeing the neighborhood councils. Okay. I see Brian is on the phone. So,
I'll second.
okay, you got a second? I don't know if Brian can vote. Okay. There'll be two of us anyways, and one not present. Okay. So it's 2-0-1. Okay. All right. Can you scroll down a little more? I think that's about where I was at with it. Oscar.
Oops.
That looks like it's pretty much the same.
Yeah,
Oh.
so I think that ends the areas that were of concern to me, especially the sole decision maker without appeal seemed a little drastic to me. Just from my political mind, I'm trying to understand why someone would create something like that. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Okay, but
Agreed.
Agree.
so politically, I just try and understand why someone would put that in a document. That's,
Doesn't even need political, Sid. It's just, come on, seriously? Sole decision maker? No way.
Yeah.
okay. All right. Any further discussion on these documents? Okay, so we're going to move the agenda to any board member announcements to make, and they would like to make here. Anything? No? Okay, in that case, can I get a vote to adjourn the meeting?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, second, so the meeting stands adjourned. And Oscar, if you can stop the recording, that would be good. Appreciate it. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Sid.
Thank you.